Birch Slide has to be one of my all-time favourite manoeuvres of all time. In the 1970s, the Zephyr skate team were inspired by the low pivotal style of surfer Larry Bertlemann. When they translated this onto their skateboards, the Bertlemann turn, or Bert for short, was born. The evolution of this move is documented in the excellent film Dogtown and Z-Boys, and this film was a big motivational factor in me picking up a skateboard in the first place. It's been a while since I've had a good Bert Slide session, and I've never tried them on the surf skate, which is madness, because one would imagine the surf skate would be a fine choice for such shenanigans. I threw my favourite Carver surf skate into the van and made my way down to my favourite local flat bank. The Birch Slide can be executed both front side and back side. And out of the two versions, the front side is my favourite. I think it looks the most stylish, and it also is slightly trickier to do because it feels a little bit exposed going back into the ramp unsighted. I decided to warm up with some front side 180 power slides. I figured this would give me a feel for how the surf skate felt, also where the grip levels were, and if there were any idiosyncrasies like that front wobbly truck and how that would influence the slides. I found the key points for doing the 180 power slide are to enter the flat bank with plenty of speed, bend down nice and low, do a little pump at the bottom of the ramp and weight up that front foot. As you come to the top of the ramp, just look with the head and shoulders and pivot on that front foot, letting the back slide round. Keep the knees slightly bent, and then it's just a case of riding back down the flat bank. Woohoo! I found that getting the foot pressures just right takes a bit of practice, and it's also counterintuitive. As I came up the ramp, I really wanted to put loads of weight through my back foot to slide it round. But as soon as I put weight on that back foot, the wheels just dug in and the slide didn't really happen at all. The opposite issue I had was placing too much pressure on the front foot, and this created a sort of out of control whirligig pivot just right on that front truck. I think this was exacerbated by the front truck on a surf skate being so loose, but having not enough pressure on that back set of trucks made the slide completely uncontrollable, and I just span out. I found the key thing that initiated and controlled the speed of the slide was looking with the head and also bringing the shoulders round. I also let my arms follow through with this motion as well, just to bring the whole slide round to a close. And then it was just a case of riding back down the flat bank, keeping the knees slightly bent so I could pump a little bit of speed out of that bank on the exit. Next up, it was time to try a few frontside Birch Slides. The key points with the frontside Birch Slide, again, come in with lots of speed, knees super bent, get the front hand ready to place down on the bank, do a good pump up the transition to unweight the feet, simultaneously load the front foot up with pressure, place the hand in front of the imaginary line where the front trucks are. As soon as the hand goes down, look hard with the head over the shoulder to initiate the slide, bring everything round, and then pull hard on the front hand and steer the board back under the body, and this allows the body to get back over the board, ride away on bent knees, and again pump away that transition to exit with good speed. Now I find this one a little bit scary when I first try it at the start of a session. One of the main things that I find happens is as I go up, I place my hand down, the board doesn't slide, and this means I slam down on the left side of my hip. If you're trying these for the first time, you may want to invest in some sort of hip pad, because there's a fair chance you'll be falling down on that bad boy quite a lot. The other main issue I always have is trying to get the board underneath myself as I complete the slide and go for the exit. This exit always feels pretty committed, and I'm never sure if I'm going to get bucked off. So I found that if I didn't like the way things were going, I could just carry on doing the slide and I end up like a snowboarder with the board across, sliding down, arse, on the flat ramp. And that was quite safe. It saved the old knees and saved the elbows. I found the height at which the surf skate rides off the ground took a little bit of getting used to. That extra height translates into me needing to bend my knees more, and regular viewers will know that my knees don't like to bend. So that added extra knee bend took a little bit of getting used to. I did find that that wobbly front surf skate truck worked a treat for initiating the turns, could really snap the front fast, and that made the back shoot out. And that tight turning radius also came in handy when trying to steer the board back under myself for the exit. Next up, I wanted to try adding a rail grab. Now, I've tried using rail grabs for my downhill sliding, and I found that if I tucked my knee up the board and grabbed around that knee, it automatically put my weight more over the front foot and helped get the slide. So I was intrigued as to whether this would work on the flat bank with the surf skate for a bit of a front side Bert Slide with that toe side rail grab. I found it felt natural when going for the grab to really grab hold of the rail and pull back on it. But I found that if I did this, the board just flipped over, the wheels span out, and the whole thing didn't work. So the grab really was just for show, but it did have a functional element, and that was to position my weight forwards onto my front foot. I found that if I grabbed a little later than I thought I needed to, towards where I was just about to start the slide, again, place my front hand in front of that axle line, make the grab, and then look with the head and shoulders and just allow the slide to come round, it worked a treat. Next up, I wondered if it was possible to do a 360-degree frontside Bert Slide. So continue out of the frontside Bert Slide, revert, and then ride away fakie. The main issue here is riding the surf skate fakie, as she just doesn't like going backwards. So I found that I needed to look extra hard with my head, keep the slide coming round, and then let go when the board was directly down the ramp, make sure my weight was completely centered over the board so I could ride away. I also tried to keep my knees slightly bent so I can control any snap from that wobbly front truck as I came back down the ramp fakie. The next manoeuvre on the agenda was the backside Bert Slide. Let's talk through the key points. So as with the frontside Bert Slide, come in with plenty of speed, bend down nice and low, pump the board up the transition, weight up the front foot, simultaneously look with the head back down the ramp, place the back hand onto the ramp. I'm currently nursing a shoulder injury, so I found that a little bit of bracing with the front hand also helps. I don't think this looks as stylish, but it certainly helps get the purchase required without the old injured shoulder giving way. Continue the slide round until the board is back down the ramp. I find that really bending the knees up at this point helps to get the board back underneath me, and then steer the board back down the ramp, keep the knees bent, and then pump away so you exit the ramp with good speed. The main thing that can go wrong with this one is not executing the slide and just ending at the top of the ramp. If you're new to this one, you might want to pop some knee pads on, because the knees are the thing you're going to fall on if the slide doesn't come round quite enough. I also found that the safe bail, if I didn't fancy the exit on this one, was to continue the slide round on my toes, and again that gave me some control and I could think about where to place my knees and my elbows so that they didn't get damaged. It also gave me the idea of trying for a backside 360 Bert Slide, so again Bert Slide with that revert. I found for this one I needed to look really hard with my head, and I could also shuffle my hands around so that the board would spin 360 degrees. Again, just needed to keep my knees bent. That surf skate, she don't want to go backwards. Control any little snaps of steering from that wobbly front truck and ride away. To finish up, I wanted to try some backside Bert turns at the local bowl. I find the curve transition is quite tricky to work with, as it's quite whippy on the exit. But having the cope in there provides a nice challenge to see if you can swipe those trucks across that cope and get that grind sound. Try and exit with good speed. Oh my gosh. I found the key points for doing the backside Bert turn on transition were very similar to those that I used when doing them on the flat bank. However, there were a few idiosyncrasies that the bowl transition threw up. Number one, there was a very definite coping line that needed to be adhered to. And I found that if I got this wrong, the board would just shoot out the top. Whew, I'd end up on my knees onto the transition. So I think if you're trying this for the first time, again, knee pads are probably a good idea, because if that board does shoot out over the top of the coping, that's the first point of contact. The second issue I encountered was shooting out at the end of the turn. And I think this was because I wasn't putting my hands in front of the imaginary axle line on those front trucks. So by putting the hands in front, it gave me a turning point that allowed me to then pull on my arms, exit with a little bit of speed. I also found that I wanted to exit with straight legs. So by bending down nice and low, it allowed me to accept that curve transition and ride the turn away. With a little bit of practice, I managed to start putting the trucks on the coping, getting a coping grind, and I also got a few where the wheels slid out and made that pleasing Bert Slide sound. Again, I look forward to my shoulder repairing itself. I was doing these Bert turns with two hands down, and I think it definitely looks more stylish if you can just let it all hang out with that one hand, the hand in question being the backhand for the backside Bert turn. Well, that's it for the Bert Slide on the Surfskate video. Those were a lot of fun. I think overall the Surfskate was an excellent choice for Bert sliding. That wobbly front truck really helps the snap into the turn. It also helps with the steering back out of the turn. With a little bit of practice, it's also possible to revert out of those Bert Slides and ride away fakie. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe. I make new videos every week. You can also follow me on Instagram at John Bishop Skate. As ever, my name's been John Bishop, and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to skate.